Inevitably, limited as we are by an entirely binary political discourse, the people who dominate our national stage have given us their verdicts on the deaths of 2 people now at the hands of immigration enforcement agents.
How many more lives need to be lost before this administration realizes that a political and partisan narrative is not as important as American values?
By one account, they were a terrifying example of the police-state tyranny to which Donald Trump and his Republican administration have subjected America. First, a young mother, then an intensive care nurse gunned down on the streets of one of our cities merely for exercising their precious right to protest. The killing of Alex Pretty in Minneapolis appears to be an execution by immigration enforcement, declared Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Alternatively, the 2 killings were a justifiable response to the threat of domestic terrorism that those agents faced as they went about doing their job of enforcing the law. An assassin tried to murder federal agents, posted Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Staff, on X, echoing the language he and others in the administration used after the killing of Renee Nicole Good in her car earlier this month.
We're not going to give in to terrorism on this, and that's exactly what's happening. People trying to antagonize, to commit acts of violence. They throw bricks at them, sometimes they shoot at them, sometimes they dox them, sometimes they go to their place of residence and harass their families. This is classic terrorism.
I shall resist joining the rush to judgment on the basis of a few minutes of video posted on social media, but I strongly suspect that the vast majority of Americans actually think these incidents were neither of those 2 things.
Go lick food somewhere else.
I suspect they think the killings were the result of some combination of poor judgment and bad handling by all of those involved, and the nearly inevitable consequence of the tension that's arisen around the government's aggressive tactics in rounding up suspected illegal immigrants.
No! Stop!
The Trump administration's efforts to remove people who are in the country illegally are legitimate, necessary, and have a democratic mandate. Mr. Trump was elected in 2024 not just on his pledge to close the border to illegal immigration caused by his predecessor's inaction, but also to remove most of those who shouldn't be here. At the same time, protesting law enforcement activity is also legitimate, but interventions like that carry risks, and in many cases can actually be a crime. And yet some unscrupulous politicians seem determined to encourage a potentially illegal response towards ICE.
Take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans.
But after 2 avoidable killings, we must also acknowledge that the Trump administration's approach to achieving its reasonable objectives is failing the tests of proportion, fairness, and legitimacy in the eyes of the public. The footage of platoons of armed, masked men, seemingly equipped for street warfare, the spectacle of both young and old, clothed and unclothed, being seized by agents, repels most Americans. And the administration and its allies are further undermining trust with some of their public statements in response to the incidents.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently.
While no one can say with confidence where blame lies on the basis of the video evidence we've seen from Minneapolis, we can be confident that the description offered by Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, is mostly fiction.
Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots.
Worst of all, by instantly defending and even praising every act by an immigration officer, however dubious, the administration is actively enabling escalation.
To all ICE officers, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. And anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony.
The message from the administration that every one of these officers hears after these episodes is, whatever you do, whatever the circumstances, we will support you and denounce anyone you harmed as an enemy of the state. The demagoguery is self-defeating and dangerous. We're sliding towards a low-grade civil war, propelled there by the ugly cynicism of authorities on both the left and right, who really should be dialing it down.
We have got children in Minnesota hiding in their houses, afraid to go outside. Many of us grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota.